Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I think we are having a little bit of technical issues at the moment, I think from Mukul's side, in terms of his voice, and we're trying to settle that. Sorry about that. Hi, Mukul.
Hi Janet, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So I think a lot of people are dialing in from about 1:50 p.m. onwards.
Right.
Yeah, so they will be actually quite excited to hear you. So thank you for taking your holiday to actually share with us your experiences.
My pleasure, absolutely, Janet.
Yes. So right now, how the schedule will be for today, let me just brief you one more time and everybody on screen right now with us. At 1:50 p.m., now we're at 1:53, we will actually have the welcome and chat with you for a little while.
Right.
Then after that at 2 p.m., we will have the actual episode premiere.
Mm-hmm.
So once the premiere ends, that's when the live chat with guests will begin.
Right.
Yeah, so actually a lot of guests are very excited because I received WhatsApp messages when I reminded them this morning. They are quite keen to dial in to your story.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yes, yes. How has it been for you?
Oh, very good. Rather busy though, I must say that work seems to have escalated a lot. So yeah.
That's good. I think maybe would you like to share a little bit about what is keeping you so busy all this
It's
while?
the usual stuff, it's coaching, mentoring, facilitating, a couple of keynotes, and of course my book writing.
Your book writing. So what is your
Yeah.
latest book on?
It's a thriller, and um, all I can share is the name. It's called The Girl from Gothenburg, but I'm not going to talk about it right now till it's ready and out.
Yes, yes. So I think one of the I shared with you earlier on was when I first wrote the book on effective Asian leadership, it was quite challenging for me because I interviewed 100 people, and then I was trying to figure out how to put all their stories together. So I remember actually listening to you, and you shared very valuable tips on the different kinds of books that would be useful. And one was the interview book. So that really helped me in terms of classifying the various stories for publication last time.
I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm sure all the audience will be quite eager to hear what you have to share, your experiences.
Right.
Yeah. So have
I'm happy
a
to add value. I'm happy to add value in whatever way I can.
Yeah, great, great. So I heard from some of your partners that you're also very busy right now in terms of the projects that you're doing, going towards virtual training, virtual webinar, and all those. Were you already set up actually even before COVID hit?
Well, actually, yes, because we have clients across the region already. So even before stay home and lockdown and circuit breaker, I have clients all over the world for coaching and mentoring. So I already was fully set up at home to take care of that part. Regarding the training part, because we have been working with regional teams earlier, even in normal situations, there used to be cases where we would have a hybrid model in place, which means some people in the room, some people dialing in from outside. So I must say, for us, the technology challenge was not so great. We kind of eased into it relatively very quickly.
Great, great, thanks. So I think you also shared that we probably have to end immediately at 1:30 because you have no, 2:30 because you have a session. So I hope the questions will come in a little earlier. So I'm going to share with the audience here.
Yeah, I do have another session starting at 2:45, so I need to kind of
Right.
switch out and yeah, dial in the other way.
So while we are watching actually episode premiere, which will start in about 3 minutes time, for anyone that's actually on YouTube right now, for anyone that's on YouTube right now, basically you can key in the chat question when you are watching the episode itself, or you can basically key in afterwards. So the chat boxes, if you are coming in from YouTube, it's basically on the right hand side if you're on the desktop. If you are on the mobile phone, the chat box will actually be at the bottom of the screen where you can basically watch it. So while we're waiting, we still have about 2 minutes left before the premiere starts. So Mukul,
Yes.
what do you normally do to de-stress?
Um, what do I normally do to de-stress? I try to avoid getting stressed.
Okay, that's
And
good. But I think it's
yeah.
not easy not to be stressed at all.
No, I kind of one good thing I learned in life is don't get stressed, give stress to others. I'm kidding. Well, I guess I do the usual stuff. I read a lot, I go for a long walk, swim, anything which keeps me busy.
Great.
But I generally am not very stressed by too many things.
Mm. And I think probably the audience will know a little why when they listen to you during your episode itself. Yeah, so I'm going to switch out because we have 1 minute left to 2 p.m. so that we can stand by for the video. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. We'll come back to you, Mukul, once the episode finish airing.
absolutely. Thank you, Jenny.
No problem.
The man that had the statesman named as a man with the Nostradamus touch, Mr. Mukul Deva.
I believe that within each one of us, there is a leader, a lion, a huge sea of untapped potential. How have I navigated crises? Let me give you two examples. Right? I had just left the army and set up my first company, and we were very young. I'm a first generation entrepreneur, so I did not have deep pockets and I did not go into business with a lot of financial backing. Just after I started my company, maybe a year and a half later, the financial crisis had hit. And things went from beautiful to hell literally overnight. My business was decimated to the point that I literally did not know where the next meal would be coming from. Right? And I had a staff of about 300 people by then, about 250, 300 people. So it wasn't me who was going to go down alone. I had to worry about all these people who had taken a leap of faith and joined me. Right?
Right.
Now, I remember that I did not have any practical solutions. I did not have the financial bandwidth to ride that through. So there was that moment in time, and that's also the time when I had become a single parent, and there was a lot of pressure. Two girls, very young, 8 and 4, the financial crisis, a new company, and no financial backing. I remember that night, I remember it very clearly because it was one of those turning points. I decided that I have no practical solution. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my chin up, keep smiling, and hope for the best. Very funny thing happened, right? A couple of months later, when the crisis passed, and the other people in the company were talking to me, they shared that they had seen me always smiling and with very upbeat and cheerful, and they assumed that everything was under control. And that was the funny thing, right? I had nothing under control. But I did have the confidence of knowing that whatever came up, I would face it head on. And somehow that confidence in me and maybe that cheer which I had forced myself to adopt kind of carried my team through. And the point I wish to make here is that very often we would not have solutions. We would not know what to do, right? And to extrapolate this further, right? What happens in any combat situation? I spent a long time in combat, especially in counterterrorism, and we are always flying blind. We
Yes.
do not have enough information to take decisions. Sometimes we have just about 10% of the picture with us, but we need to take a decision. And that period of my life prepared me to just go ahead, take a decision, knowing that I will probably be wrong. The beauty was that you also knew that somehow you have that confidence of knowing I will find the way to autocorrect when things go wrong. So we would take a decision, move forward with the complete knowledge that there is a strong chance the decision would be wrong. And when things start going wrong, we will have to recalibrate. But that confidence is what kept me going.
I see. So you had pretty good combat experience. And what happens to people, especially if you look at Singapore, all of us grew up in pretty sheltered environment and we may not have been thrown into uncomfortable situations. So in a situation like this, what would your three tips to someone who has completely not gone through a crisis before? Not necessarily a personal crisis, or more from a financial crisis, especially you are looking at a lot of SMEs, they may head into what your situation would be in the financial crisis. What would be your three tips?
So firstly, I would just like to share, Janet, that
Yes.
there's no such thing as good combat experience.
Right.
I mean, most people who have been through combat, most veterans, they hate the idea of going to war. They understand that it needs to be done once in a while because of the human proclivity for violence. But the fact is, no veteran likes combat, neither did I. Now, for those who have not had the benefit or misfortune of experiencing such extreme trauma, I would say that if you look at any normal life, there are enough things which happen. We all suffer the loss of a parent, a grandparent, some relative, and all these are traumatizing events, right? When that people who go through extreme trauma, especially when they are younger, their ability to handle it enhances with every crisis. So what happens is they learn how they are managing crises, they break it down into a process, and then the process becomes better every time you're forced to do it. You don't want to do it, but you're forced to do it. So what is my tip for people who need to become more resilient at handling crises is to find out what is your crisis management process. Now, I have a recovery process. I use a lot of humor. No matter what's happening around me, I try to find something funny which makes me laugh and keeps me going. To sum it up, I have developed something. In fact, I speak on this topic a lot. It's called demonstrating the right arc, an arc being attitude, resilience, and confidence. Now, these are three things that all of us have in different degrees, and all of us can fine tune and practice and make them stronger. So I'll give you a slightly unrelated example. I go for my medical checkup every year, and sometime back, the last medical checkup, the doctor told me, "Oh, your blood sugar seems to be high." Now, it is quite irritating, especially for a person who comes from a family where there have been a lot of people with diabetes. So I decided I would try something without medication. I also saw this as an opportunity to test my resilience and confidence and discipline. So I started something called intermittent fasting, which means 16 to 18 hours a day I don't eat. Was it tough? For a guy who loves chocolates and ice cream and Sichuan food and everything wrong, all the stuff which I'm not supposed to be, I love it. It was very tough. And now I'm like 4 months into it. Not only has my sugar corrected, my weight has come down, I feel better. And the best thing is, it has reminded me how strong my discipline muscle is. That's one of the muscles which we use for recovery because discipline helps you to stay with a positive routine. And a positive routine puts you in a positive frame of mind. which can help you overcome any crisis much faster, right?
Right, right. Let me just summarize what you just mentioned. I think one of the key things that you mentioned was everybody will encounter some kind of crisis in their life. So one of the
Absolutely.
key things that you need to look at is reflect upon your crisis management process. And everybody
Yes.
might be different. So in your case, it was humor, and discipline plays a big role in the latest example that you mentioned. Therefore, would you say staying calm is crucial in order for you to reflect your kind of crisis management process? Should this process be done before or after?
So let me share an example with you. So there's
Yes.
a gentleman I was coaching, and one day when I met him, he was looking very shattered. And I found out that he has just discovered that his mother had stage 4 cancer. He was completely shaken up. And only child, mother living in a different city. So his
Right.
entire life was going to be turned around. So when I asked him, I said, "Hey, you sure you want to do coaching now?" He said, "Yeah, I don't want to be alone. And I want you to talk to me about how do I manage my emotions at this point in time." I asked him to identify what are the things he does when he feels sad and down. And he identified 4 or 5 things: stress eating, lying down in front of the TV without watching it. And, he identified 5, 6 actions, which were his stress actions. Then I asked him, what are the actions you take when you're happy? And he immediately identified 2 or 3. Running was one of them, I remember. Reading was another one. He said, "And why are you asking me to do this?" I said, "Look, I know this will not solve your problem because with every passing day, your mother's condition is going to get worse. But would you like to try staying with the happy actions?" And he did. He said, "Look, what harm can it do?" So for the next 3, 4 months, he was helping his mother in the final journey. He stayed with his happy actions. Now, he shared with me every time we spoke. He said, "Mukul, I know the situation is spiraling out of my control, but I am feeling more in balance and in control of my emotions and myself." And that helped him to stay calm, confident, and deal with the situation in a more logical manner. I wonder if that helps.
Yes, that's really, really helpful. I think when someone hears that happy actions, it's definitely cool. There are some people who mention maybe deep breathing, but it may not necessarily resonate well with everyone. But doing happy actions, I think that's really, really great.
Sorry, Jared, you said deep breathing?
Yes.
Well, breathing definitely helps.
Breathing
I
definitely.
mean,
Yeah, it's just that for my line of work, sometimes when I encounter clients, you talk about deep breathing and all those, but besides deep breathing, actually you need to be quite calm in order to really take the deep breaths to help you. So it's actually a chicken and egg issue. So giving the tip about thinking about the happy actions when you're really stressed, something that I think is quite usable and practical for people to think about.
I think so too, because your mind associates those actions with happiness and calm. It's like how our thoughts drive our emotions, our
Correct.
actions can also drive. Yeah, so
Correct.
works both ways.
Hi, Mukul. So I think everybody is pretty happy watching the particular episode itself. Yeah. So now, what I would like to ask you while we're waiting actually for questions to come in would be, how do you keep your employees actually motivated during that period of time? And who is going to come here?
Go and get a headset if you want. Give me a minute.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone. I think, well, this is sometimes it's a technical issue that we are grappling with right now. During the interview, actually, with Mukul, he shared many valuable tips from the onset. It was actually a 20 to 25 minutes interview. The only thing is because I needed to ensure that everything was okay. So, and in time so that we keep people within the half an hour time frame and then still be able to do the Q&A. So that's one of the reasons why some of the snippets are actually not there. So I think Mukul is more or less ready.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, great. So
Very surprising because I use this setup for training, facilitation, everything. I don't know anyway. No worries. Yeah, please go ahead.
yeah, so I think well, maybe because it's a lot of different equipment and then Beeline is something that we didn't have this issue when I was working. So now maybe if you could share your tips on how to keep your team motivated.
Okay, so like I was saying that especially at this time, there needs to be a balance between engagement and intrusion. You don't want to be doing too much because then people suffer from things like Zoom fatigue, and not everyone has access to a separate room in their homes to be able to work from. So we don't want to do too much of it. Yet, if you don't do any, then there is the fear of rumors and uncertainty setting in. So what we do is we have short but very regular check-ins with everyone in the team to make sure everyone is engaged.
Right. So now let me share one more time. So Liang is actually my ex-colleague from Johnson& Johnson. I think she's still there. So she's thank you for your valuable insights. So while we're actually waiting for the questions to come in, I think I'm just going to put on the live chat so that people can basically key in the question. While we're waiting for the questions itself, Mukul,
Yes.
moving forward in terms of the tapping on opportunities and how we should be preparing ourselves, what tips would you give?
I mean, look, it would be different for different industries and different for different professions. You basically need to find out what is working well in this new reality and start doing more of it. And for example, for me, I didn't need to really do much, but I noticed that there was an immediate swing towards more coaching, more mentoring, and a slight drop in the amount of training initially. But now that drop has been addressed, and I find it's corrected. So essentially, what you need to do is you need to look at your profession or your job and find out which part of it is still relevant and is still effective in the new reality which is emerging, and then focus more on it. And also, this is a good time for you to start uh, working out and identifying what are the new skills which you need to develop. Now, the third thing I can suggest is that definitely make sure you are building individual resilience, because there will be more and more need for it, especially when you're going into isolation and you're on your own more often. You need to start demonstrating a lot more resilience. So I think these three things should be kind of enough to get you started.
Right. So now, while you were replying, I think my headphone had a lot of echo. So a lot of the comments were about the feedback from my. So you saw me before the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thanks for your tips on how to feel resilient.
Yeah.
Now, other thing would be because you're someone who has managed business for a long time, so usually in this period of time, there's actually a lot of issues on how to manage cash flow.
I'm sorry, Janet, but your voice is kind of fading at times, so I'm not really able to make out the complete sentence.
Okay, I'm gonna come closer
Sure.
to the mic. So I think one of the things we are looking at from the business perspective at this point is cash flow management.
Uh-huh.
How do you suggest small business owners manage their cash flow and ensure they tide over this period?
Um, Actually, I'm sorry, I don't have a solution for that, because if you are now starting to address your cash flow management, it's already too late. Most small business owners should be doing this as a matter of habit
which means saving up regularly for a bad financial year or a rainy day or a situation like this. But when you are in the middle of a crisis, it becomes pretty hard to now start creating the reserves to deal with the crisis. So I guess now the only option you will have is to uh, borrow money, take loans, or bring in money from other areas where you parked it. But going forward as a habit, you should be investing a part of your income regularly and not pulling it out of the company. Like in our case, we have always ensured in all my companies, we have always ensured that we build a buffer when things are going well, so that when things are not going as well as they should, we really don't need to get stressed about it. I mean, that's pretty much all I can say on this. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Now I'm going to put on Roshini's questions. Do you have tips on how we can help ourselves manage crisis?
All right. I think that's a great question, Roshni, although I'm not sure I'm the best person to answer it because my kids, thankfully, are grown and I never want to deal with the smaller ones again. But what I can tell you is that my personal experience is that kids are extremely resilient. And if given a gentle nudge and a little support in the right direction, and given something else to occupy them with, they are probably going to acclimatize to the new reality a lot faster than you and me as adults are. And this is, I think, going forward, this is going to be something they will be dealing with in the longer term. So I would suggest allow them to experience the deep end a little and to find what works well for them, and then trust their resilience to keep them afloat. I don't know whether that helps, Roshni, if that gives enough, casts enough light on the topic.
Okay, I guess I'm not seeing any reactions now. Okay, great. So they are saying better now, no echo. So well, I think this is something new to me because for the first two episodes there wasn't any echo. So right now we have to work on it. I am so glad. Actually, my son is here today. He's running around telling me what to do because if not, I will be, I think, flustered. I think like that's why Mukul, when I first asked you how do you handle stress and you say you're not stressed. So usually what gets me stressed is all these technical equipment, and I think the tips that you shared about the crisis management process is really pretty good. Do you have other tips that you would like to share with us in terms of handling our emotions, number one, and two, how do we actually build emotional, they call it agility or resilience?
Okay, I think that's a really, really good question. And before I answer it, just something about kids, this is probably the two things they are very good at, helping you with technology and helping you to find the television remote. I've used them extensively for both, and they are generally very useful. So, regarding your question, any other tips which I have? Well, like I mentioned, that you do need to build resilience and do not let go of any opportunity to exercise that, right? Put yourself through a few tough situations. You will always come out winning, right? And I mean, specifically, if you're looking for something, I would say that learn to be more self-reliant because this social distancing is going to go far longer than we might currently anticipate it to. So we will need to be more and more reliant on ourselves, and we will need to find things which are not, I mean, which we can do on our own to get better personally or professionally. Um, Actually, Janet, I think if you were to focus that question on a particular area, it would be a lot more easy for me to answer it because right now it's too broad based.
Let me then focus it more on, I think a lot of times if we're looking at parents, we are the sole breadwinner. In times like this, if we had the opportunity to save up 6 months, that would be great. But I think a lot of people are saying that this crisis may last more than 6 months. How do you manage the emotions of not having enough and at the same time keeping positive to move forward? Usually, what do you do? Like, I think you had that experience and you shared in the video on how you did it. Any other tips specifically on financial security, how you will address it?
Now I get it. So it's about handling emotions and learning to deal with not having enough. Now, firstly, I'm not a big believer of handling emotions. I rather allow myself to process them. Because when you try to manage them, it's a bit like the pressure cooker, they just build up inside you. So I rather process them and deal with them in as practical a manner as possible. The second question you raise is very relevant. How do we deal with this fear of not having enough? Firstly, I hope, in fact, from what I've gathered from the various people I've been talking to, I personally realized that a lot of people have started realizing that they were focusing on too many of their desires, not their wants. If you actually separate the two, we have very few wants. Now, for me, it was not much of a downgrade because I am by nature a minimalist. Okay, so I do not believe in accumulating or hoarding anything in my life, including emotions and emotional baggage. So, what I prefer to do is to kind of keep myself lean. And just to give you an example, when I migrated, I literally migrated with two suitcases, one carry on bag, one check in bag. That was pretty much it. I don't tie myself down to physical things because they become your liability. So if you learn to live a more minimalist existence, you will find you're doing yourself a favor. You'll find you're doing the planet a favor. I'm sure everyone has realized that they can get along without going out every day. They can get along without going to the shopping mall every day. They can get along with the clothes in their cupboard. In fact, most people, I can bet, have not used more than 20% of the clothes in their cupboard, even now when they're staying home. And as for the shoes in your cupboard, don't even get me started. 47 pairs of shoes in your cupboard and you use one of them. And now that you're staying home, you're not using any one of them. So, this is, I think, a great um, uh, opportunity for us to realize what we need and what we want are two different things. And if we focus on what we literally need, we will be much happier. It will be easier to fulfill those needs rather than all those desires and wants. And how much do value do they really bring to your life? So that would probably be the long answer, and I feel quite strongly about this, so I could probably go on till tomorrow. I'm sure you don't want me to do that.
Thank you so much, Mukul. We are 1 minute left to 2:30, so I'm mindful of the time constraint you have. But I would like to let others know how they can know more about you, your stories. So here I'm actually sharing. Basically, after today, you can go to the leadership during crisis where you can actually see the various different episodes. And today's episode is with Mukul. And when you click on the video itself, you can learn about Muku's background, as well as I think when we live stream, there are some issues, it's not as clear. So when you catch this video without the live Q&A, I will put in the link also with the live Q&A. This is a much clearer version of the video itself. And here, there's also a link to for you to contact Mukul if you require to. So let me switch back now to Mukul.
Model for me has been my mother. She
Ah,
was a very strong person, and I never saw her. I saw her get hit by life. I never saw her go down. So for me, that was the thing, that we are not. I mean, none of us are born with a warranty card. We are born with a birth certificate. So stuff is going to happen, and you will learn to deal with it. And for me, that was my role model. I hope that answers the question. And Janet, thank you so much for giving me this platform to share my thoughts. Anyone wants to reach me, I'm fairly easy to find. You can Google me, tweet me, whatever works for you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.